creative living, utilizing today's technology with the best of the past to bring you innovative ideas and up-to-date information for creative lifestyles in today's active world. With your host, Sheryl Borden.
Thanks for joining me today for Creative Living. We're going to talk about how to create a life vision. We'll demonstrate how you make a faux quilt pillow and also discuss lactose intolerance. One of my guests is Kate McKay, and she's an author and fitness guru. Kate's going to talk about how to create a life vision and explain why it is so important. She says that it takes 21 to 28 days to establish a new habit, and this is as true for weight control and fitness as for other areas of our life. Kate lives in Newburyport, Massachusetts. Another guest is Lisa Rojas, and she's going to demonstrate how to create a no-sew pillow with a faux quilting technique using a new line of rubber stamps and ink pads. Lisa is a crafter and designer from Victorville, California, and her business is Stampin' Queen Creations. She's also one of the founders of Bella Quarterly, a great online craft magazine. And we'll begin the show by talking to Sarah Robbins, who is a dietitian with Dairy Max. Sarah says that health authorities agree that low-fat and fat-free milk and milk products are an important and practical source of key nutrients. And this is true for all people, including those who are lactose intolerant. She lives in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Sarah, I've really been hearing a lot lately about lactose intolerance and even people who said, well, gosh, I drank milk as a child. I've never had any problem with it. In fact, my son was that way. And then as they become adults, they're intolerant to it. What is lactose?
Lactose is the sugar within our dairy foods.
The sugar.
Sugar and dairy foods. And so a lot of times it's that rumble in the tummy that we associate with milk. So, you know, some indigestion or things like that, a lot of people actually experience.
So you can develop it later in life. I mean, that's not unusual?
They're showing that there's actually less incidence of people with actual lactose intolerance and a little bit of lactose malabsorption. And so really what a lot of health authorities are actually saying is even if you've had that kind of grumble in the tummy, that your first choice should actually be dairy and dairy products, low-fat and fat-free dairy products, even with lactose intolerance.
Well, and I think too, because as you mentioned, now we have the fat-free or the low-fat. There's so many products to choose from that we didn't have years ago, and that may be, we just need to encourage people now to try more.
Right, and health professionals and nutrition professionals should really educate the public around the benefits of dairy foods because of all those key nutrients that are in there. The 9 essential nutrients that are in dairy products that have 9 essential nutrients that have the health benefits before choosing a non-dairy option.
Well, and I think everyone you talk to will say too that try getting everything we need from food, natural sources, rather than through supplements or things like that. And gosh, if dairy foods have the 9 nutrients that we need, we're really off to a good start.
Exactly. And so if you are experiencing some lactose intolerance, there are some practical solutions that you can actually incorporate into your day so that you're getting those key nutrients from dairy foods like milk, cheese, and yogurt. So there's the first is really looking at trying milk, so sipping it. So you start with about a half a cup, and you can slowly increase over time. So getting back to actually trying
Should
milk,
you start
regular
with whole,
milk.
skim,
1% or skim milk are the low-fat or non-fat versions.
Try those first because it's the fat, the sugar in it that we're wanting to deal with.
Right. So we want to limit, because the dietary guidelines we want to limit the fat in our foods.
Okay, great.
The second is to slice it. So hard cheeses like cheddar, Swiss, Monterey Jack, mozzarella, those are much lower in lactose and so can be options on a daily basis for your dairy products.
Again, making the choices, we can still have the cheese, it may just be a different kind, and they're all so good.
Exactly. And then the last 3 we're actually going to demonstrate through a milkshake. So who would have thought a lactose intolerant could have a milkshake? So this is a pumpkin cheesecake milkshake.
Oh my gosh, that sounds delightful.
So the first of the 3 is to actually stir it. So we have some canned pumpkin. We're going to incorporate that here, and you want this cold. So you can even freeze it, but you want it out of the fridge. And so by incorporating your dairy products with another fruit or vegetable or stirring it into soup or with cereal, you're actually slowing the digestion of lactose.
Oh, that makes sense.
And so you can tolerate it much better.
I see.
We're also going to add some cream cheese here.
What is that about?
About 3 ounces.
3 ounces.
3 ounces of cream cheese. So then we're actually going to spoon it. So we have some yogurt. Yogurt is very easily digested. There's some probiotics or good bacteria in yogurt that actually help us to digest the
and
lactose.
Is that just plain, or do you put a flavor?
That was vanilla yogurt, just
vanilla.
a 6-ounce carton of
light.
vanilla. So that's the fat-free version. And then the next one is to try it. So lactated milk, or your reduced fat or low fat milks.
Fat-free, 100% lactose-free. See, no excuse.
Right.
We can all drink wonderful milk.
Right. So lactose-free milk is actually real milk. So it still has all those same 9 essential nutrients that milk has, and you just get the benefit of not having the lactose in there.
See.
So you want to try different brands because there's lots of different lactose-free options that are out there. So look for them in your dairy aisle. We're going to just add a little bit of sugar.
That's brown sugar.
Brown,
looks like.
a quarter cup of brown sugar. We have some cinnamon and nutmeg in here. We're going to add a little bit of vanilla, and then we're going to blend it up. And so we just, blend it just a little bit, and then we can pour it in our glass.
Pour it over here for you.
And we have a pumpkin pie in a glass.
And you said cheesecake? Pumpkin pie, cheese.
Pumpkin
Oh my gosh.
cheesecake.
It has to be good.
Milkshake. And then if you throw a little graham cracker on top, it's like you have your crust.
I wondered if that was supposed to have gone in there. I see. That's the crust for the
Exactly.
cheesecake.
Right.
Wonderful. And what a fun idea for something to prepare. I think kids would enjoy it especially, but I think this would be a great way to start your day. If you say, oh, I don't have time for breakfast, this is a great way to go with smoothies or milkshakes.
Exactly. And this is 6 servings, what we made here. So it can be, you have it for the week. For breakfast or a dessert after dinner for your whole family.
After school snack?
After school
Would be
snack,
great.
any of those things.
Well, this is certainly interesting, and I'm so glad we're putting more emphasis on getting the dairy foods back in our diets, because I truly agree. I think it's so important.
And you can find this pumpkin cheesecake milkshake recipe at dairymax.org, as well as other tips on how to include lactose into your diet.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I've learned lots of things today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa, it's always nice to have you here, and I know you're known as the stamping queen. You know how to use rubber stamps in ways no one ever thought of.
I try, yes.
And you're going to show us something today and make use of some new stamps that are on the market.
Yes. My designer friend, Ann Butler, came up with this concept, and she's the one that brought these new stamps out to the market for us, which I was very excited about, because I come from a long line of quilters and sewers, but I never picked it up.
With you.
It stopped with me. So this way, when Anne came up with this concept, it was something that was great for me that, okay, now I can get involved.
Well, we have some of the patterns. They're all geometric shapes, sizes.
Yes. And
there's plaids, there's polka dots, there's just everything.
And what makes them unique is that there is no lip around them. If you see a regular stamp, this is a regular wood stamp.
Oh, that's what you
it
mean
all
by
has, it has about an 1/8 of an inch lip. On Ann's stamps, there's no lip on it, so it all butts up together, so you can make multiple designs. The designs are endless that you can make with them. So,
and I like your idea. You talked about before, some of us might be a little leery about doing this on our best fabric that we've saved for this project. So you've got a tip for that too.
I do, because when I first started stamping on fabric, I was very afraid of it. And, you know, I thought, oh, I'm going to ruin my fabric. So what I decided to do was I stamp out my pattern first.
On a piece of paper?
On a piece of paper. This is just a regular cardstock, a 12 by 12 for this project. And I stamp it out first. And then so that way I can get it lined up. I know exactly where it is. And if I make a mistake, I can throw it away and stamp it. And I haven't ruined my material.
That's a good idea.
And then what makes it nice then for the pillow, you can slip it in.
Make sure all your edges are straight.
Make everything
and it's flat.
straight and it's flat, and then you can
But you can see through it.
You can see through it, so you can stamp directly on your pattern. It's already there.
That is a great idea.
It is.
I had thought about maybe doing it on paper, but I hadn't thought about slipping it inside, so
Right.
you can just match the...
Yeah, I just figured that out one day when I was working in my studio. So you just kind of, you lay it on top and it's right there. So you don't have to worry about realigning anything. It's all right there, and then you can get your image.
And then you would continue with
the others and, you know, stamp out your whole pillow pattern how you want it. And then the next thing that you can do...
This is one that you have done exactly what you were showing us.
And these are, I wanted to mention too, these are flour sacks.
And tell us about those in case someone hasn't ever heard of them.
Okay, well, I had to, my mom was the one that actually bought these for me. And what I liked about it, because when I made a pillow similar to this, I used muslin. So of course you can use muslin also. But because I don't like to sew, I had to sew the muslin to get the edges. Didn't want to do that. The flour sacks, you can find them in Kmart, Walmart, you know, any of your big stores where your dish towels are.
Oh, I see.
And they're already finished for you. So
how nice for people who don't want to sew or have a machine.
Exactly. And since I don't like to sew, my very favorite glue is the Beacon adhesives. This is a fabric tack glue, and it is absolutely wonderful.
So you get that all centered on the pillow form.
Get it on your pillow. And then the easiest way to do it, when you first start on it, is lay it out, make sure you have everything straight, and then glue your edge down. So, you know, your material's not moving around. And also, you want to glue the top one down.
First.
Okay, first, exactly. Because then what you're going to do is you're going to take some embroidery thread and this is the only sewing that I do, and your button, and you're going to run it up through the back of the pillow.
But it's not going to show on the back. That's a good idea.
Exactly. So, and then you just pull it in, pull the button on, sew it on, and you're good.
Oh, that's smart.
And then the last thing that you have to do is fold your other end over, glue it in place with your fabric glue.
Let's take a look at it. It really is amazing how there's no sewing.
No sewing. Very simple, very easy.
Fold this back.
You know, you just fold it back, and then I just added the little bows on the corner of the pillows. And
here's where you first started, where you were talking about folding the top, doing it first.
Yes, and then this is where I finished it, where I rolled the sides in. And glued it in place with the glue, and then
and see, we don't have the button on the back.
And you don't have the buttons on the back. That's what I wanted.
Whoops, I've got it upside down, but it's just as pretty.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, and I just love the stamps and the colors, and it does look like it's just a quilt block on top of a pillow.
Thank you.
Faux quilting.
Faux quilting.
Thank you very much, Lisa.
You're welcome.
Kate, it's really nice to have you here. And you know, I think what I enjoyed most about reading your book, now that I've met you, you're just like you talk in the book. and I say that as a compliment because it's obvious that you know what you're talking about, you've lived what you're talking about, and I think that's important to give all of us the confidence to, if we want to make those changes in our life.
Right, I agree. And I think that's the funny thing, and that's the theater major in me, is that when I write, I want to people to hear me speak it and the rhythm and the way that I can affect them emotionally, because all we have is words, right? So we have to build it in a way that people will come and it will resonate with them, and I think that's what I've heard the most.
Well, and there's a lot of humor in it, and so that kept my attention.
Right.
It's not all dead serious.
No, that would be depressing.
That would be depressing.
Right,
You're
because
right.
you know what, like life is hard, right? We all have challenges in life for sure. So there is a piece we still have to always live in celebration.
Well, I think you're right. One thing you talked about, and I truly believe this, and explain to us why you think it's important and why you tell people when you speak at gatherings, why it's important to create a life mission.
Well, I think that, you know, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but really you hear about goal setting, and that's obviously a very important piece. But what's most important is really creating a vision of how you want to look, a vision of how you want to feel, a vision of who is going to be around you when you've attained a certain goal. For example, my vision of being here with you, I wanted to know that I was 100% prepared and that I had great outfits and that we would have total chemistry, right? So I create a vision, and then once I'm living into that, then it's just like a great experience, right? So that's the most important thing, is to get that vision of what it's going to feel like when you've attained your dreams. What's it going to feel like when you've lost that 20 pounds that's been hanging on you since your last baby? What's it going to feel like when you have business success and when you have a certain amount of money in the bank that's right for you? So it's really creating that vision and then living into that dream, which is such an important piece.
Well, I remember in college when we were taking education classes, we were told to set goals and have what we expected the students to achieve by the end of the week, month, semester. But that's true of anything, and the goals have to be realistic and measurable.
And I want to take that word realistic and make it just outrageous, because really we have to dream bigger. And I think that's the biggest thing that I do with people, and say, tell me why, and what else do you want, and what else do you want, and what else. So it's not just getting out of debt, it's what's it going to be like when you have $100,000 in the bank. It's not just what happens when you lose that 20 pounds. It's going to be what's your life and with your relationship with your children going to be like, with your husband going to be like, right? What else? How can we dream it bigger? Take the lid off of it. So realistic, let's talk about radical. Let's replace the word, right? Because, right, so we're just talking about that earlier, about how living into the dream is sometimes we have to create relationships with other people that will create and hold their dream for them that's bigger than necessarily. And that's why I think hiring a coach is so important. Whether it's a fitness coach, business coach, personal coach, I've had them all.
And you are all in one. That's what's really good.
Right, yes.
And I read in the book, and I'd heard this many times, about how many days it takes to practice saying something positive if we've been put down or slurred in any way.
Right.
That's
isn't that an amazing
important.
statistic that, you know, one negative, it takes 10 to repeat and even make that neutral. So, you know,
Just to
think
make
about
it
that.
neutral.
Right, just to make it neutral. That's pretty powerful.
Well, it
So I
is.
have this crazy process where I make my clients take Post-it notes and put it all over their house, in their room, in their closet, you know, all the positive things about who they are. I love myself because I'm so loving. I love myself because, right? So you see affirmations, and it's silly because my kids think I'm crazy because I have them in my house and in my closet, on my mirror, and they're like, oh, Mom, right? But I need that affirmation just as much as anybody, right? So I live in the positive affirmation because, again, life has its blows. And so how do we stay positive and not necessarily a positive world?
Well, that's certainly true. You have a couple of notebooks here, I think, that would be interesting to see what you consider affirmations that you want to have around you, what you aspire to be or how to live.
Well, you hear about people who have vision boards. Well, what I like, because I like to be portable with my cooler and my dreams, is create a notebook of my vision.
Carry it with you.
Right. So I can, every night I can look through this book and really get a feel for what I want my dream and my life to be in 3 years, 5 years, and 10 years. That's the way that I basically set it up. So, you know, I knew that I wanted to get Living Sexy Fit down in 2014, and I did.
And you did?
And I did, yeah. So these are just examples of things. I want to start sprinting, so that's my little excitement. I can't wait to meet Oprah.
Oh, yeah.
So, yes, a lot of people this year have met her and have connected with her. And obviously, exercise is a big piece of who I am, and c'est magnifique. Right, someday I want to go to France. I've never been to Europe. So yeah, so that's different pieces. And
you achieved your book.
Yeah, I achieved my book.
On
right,
the second
and I
one?
love this picture of bliss. I mean, look at that. right? So I still want to have that peace in all that I do. So I think that at the center is finding that peace and knowing that I'm in alignment with what, how I'm living.
Well, and like you mentioned, it's not just one area of our life. If we devoted all of our time and energy and efforts just to getting ahead in our career, we're leaving a whole lot of important things behind.
Correct. Absolutely. Well, the latest studies have shown that there's a direct correlation between getting fit and our career. A direct line between getting fit and our financial abundance, right? So that's the prosperity message is, why wouldn't you take your body, which is your greatest vessel? This is the one shot we have. This is one rodeo. So let's make it fun. Let's live in celebration of this body that we have. And how do we shift self-care and making our sense of self-worth be at the center of it? And that's a huge part of what Living Sexy Fit's about.
Well, certainly, and the fit part comes not only from exercise, but from good nutrition.
Correct.
And you talk in the book about what you packed up to take that day.
Oh, yes.
If you live in a large city, I'm sure that's extremely important. In a smaller town, you can probably go home for lunch or find something that's not so hard to transport. But let's talk a little bit about what you would consider a fit meal.
Well, this is, I love to give visual cueing because I think so many of us are visual. So this is 5 ounces of chicken. And
that's a pretty good serving.
That's a pretty good size serving, right? So this is the interesting thing. Oftentimes, particularly women, we think, oh my gosh, that's too much. I don't want to eat that much meat. Well, the protein is the most beautiful sustaining energy that we can have. And so because we tend to eat too much carbs. So we talk a little bit about metabolism. Our culture is inundated with insulin because we eat so much carbohydrate. So my biggest fear is obviously the obesity epidemic that is becoming a diabetic nightmare.
From children on up.
Right. So it's a real passion of mine. So eating protein with a meal sustains your energy level, and you can say goodbye to the 3 o'clock crash. It's just not going to happen if you eat regular meals. And that's obviously an important part of living sexy fit is you're worthy of serving yourself those meals and making it a ritual that this is the time I'm going to eat.
And the green beans, you do talk about serving sizes, using your palm for some things, measuring half cups and that sort of thing.
And I use a scale because this is the greatest thing. I have a kitchen scale. So just to get familiar with what an amount is. Because like you said, wow, that looks like a lot of chicken, right? Like you wouldn't probably necessarily eat that. But that's actually a proper serving.
That's right.
4 to 5 ounce sweet potato, that's a complex carb. And then you can be endless supply of green vegetables, which is a wonderful thing. Green beans, broccoli, asparagus, green peppers, those are, and you can have those just to your heart's desire. I don't eat much fruit, and most people don't like to hear that because it is high in sugar. Right? So it jacks up our insulin level, and it's my commitment to really educate people about the vegetables have the same vitamins that the fruits do without the added sugar. So that's important.
And you do talk about clean eats.
I do.
I think that's important. Let's go through some examples here.
So this is the thing I want to start with about clean eats is that basically I live in celebration. I love ice cream. So I have an 80-20 rule, like in many areas of, even in business, they talk about the 80-20 rule, right? So 80% I eat clean, I eat foods that fuel our body, right? And that's what I propose to all my clients. And then the 20% can be little bits of satisfaction, right? Things that you like a glass of wine, a couple cookies. We're not talking about a column of Oreos. We're talking about a couple cookies. So that goes back to the whole idea behind moderation. So eating in moderation, eating and paying attention to what it feels like to have a full belly, and reconnecting and realizing, again, I bring this up so much, but you are worthy of a high level of self-care. That's a big important piece. So this bowl is all my yummies. This here is coconut oil. This is my favorite. Now, the reason why coconut oil is so good for you is it really helps cure sugar cravings. I eat it by the spoonful. I put it in my oatmeal. The latest studies show that coconut oil is an amazing, healthy fat. We grew up in the 80s and 90s when no fat is the best way to go. That's actually a fallacy. They're actually showing that. And fat is beautiful for your skin and keeps you youthful and also keeps those sugar cravings and the carb cravings at a low. So super important. Again, I love adding spices. My favorite is Mrs. Dash. As you can see, I have tons of them there. And again, we talk about healthy fat, having that avocado. It's okay to have fat. And that's, again, we have to give ourselves permission to eat the way that we are supposed to, which is higher protein, a starch of the healthy variety, including brown rice and sweet potatoes. In yam country, here I am, and again, an abundance of vegetables.
Well, it's really interesting when you actually see it, because
Right.
reading it's one thing, but actually seeing it for real, it really does let you know that's a very nice serving of everything that we need. Well, I guess we'll have to just continue this conversation sometime. Thank you
Awesome.
very much,
Thank
Kate.
you so much. I appreciate being here.
I hope you enjoyed the show today. Next time on Creative Living, we'll learn how to use fruit in beverages and share some beautiful finishes for unlined jackets. Two of my next guests are chefs, and they also serve as culinary consultants to the California Fig Advisory Board. They're going to demonstrate the use of figs in an array of delicious and crave-worthy beverages. Figs' versatility really shines through these delectable libations. Another guest is a custom dressmaker, artist, and designer, and she'll talk about the benefits of unlined jackets and then show some beautiful seam finishes. These include a French seam, a rolled edge seam, and bias binding using a Hong Kong finish. I hope you'll plan to join me next time for Creative Living.
We are very pleased to offer a special booklet that accompanies this series of Creative Living. We are celebrating our 40th year on PBS. This booklet is titled the 40th Anniversary Series, and it features a wonderful collection of ideas and information, and it's available free of charge on our website. Posted as a PDF file, you can simply download the entire booklet or just the segments you're most interested in. For your copy of this commemorative booklet, go to our website at KENW.org and then click on Creative Living. Scroll down to the booklet section, and you can click on this booklet or on any of the other booklets we have available online. We would like to invite you to sign up for our free e-newsletter too. Go to KENW.org and click on the Sign Up Now button and input your email address. That's all there is to it. We would also like to ask you to become a fan of Creative Living on Facebook. Go to facebook.com and in the search window type in Creative Living with Sheryl Borden. Thanks so much. We look forward to hearing from you.